Do you know what your conventional loan appraisal options are? There are a few, so let's get into it. Hi, my name is Kevin Retcher, owner of First Meridian Mortgage. Today we're going to discuss some changes on the conventional loan side of things. Fannie and Freddie have announced some changes as of January 11th that are pretty impressive. Okay, so on homes of $1 million or less value, okay? Fannie, Freddie are now going to allow a value acceptance or an appraisal waiver up to 90% loan to value or 10% down loans, okay? And then as a secondary note, there's a value acceptance plus a PDC or a PDR, which is the value acceptance, so they accept the value, but they're asking for a additional report, and that's going to cost $180, so they send somebody out to do a data collection. It's cheaper, faster than a full appraisal. Key is they're using the value all the way up to 97% loan to value or 3% down. So that is like getting a partial waiver on a 3% down conventional loan. That's really, really impressive. That is for primary and secondary homes, not on investment right now. So here's the thing. How does this affect our buyers and borrowers? So in many cases, I get contracts that come over with financing and appraisal contingencies waived. I always cringe at the fact that sometimes the listing agent and the borrower did not discuss the potential implications of waiving an appraisal without checking with the loan officer. So always check with your loan officer what the repercussions could be. Some of those repercussions could be you have to put more money down. You could have to have MI. It could, in theory, cause someone to have MI and then not qualify. So there are a lot of repercussions. So I don't want to scare you on that. Check with your loan officer before you just blindly waive your appraisal contingency and financing contingencies in your contract. So one key point is how are actual appraisals done if you need one? Most clients don't know that they're actually done on a blind type of system. Back in 2007, during the mortgage crisis, rules were put in place so that lenders didn't know who the appraiser was, and loan officers aren't allowed to talk to the appraiser about value. So they created these things called appraisal management companies, okay? So if you lock in a loan and I go to order the appraisal, we have to order it through the appraisal management company that's been approved with the lender, but all the appraisers sign up with the appraisal management company, and this middleman, the appraisal management company, orders the appraisal to a random appraiser that the lender doesn't know and the mortgage loan officer doesn't know. We're not allowed to communicate directly with him. We have to communicate through the appraisal management company. So this protects the appraiser so that he can come in at whatever value he feels without the worry and pressures from the loan officer or the lender, and not worrying about whether or not he's going to get any future business if he comes in low. So he can just come in at the value that's needed. This particular way is useful sometimes also when it comes to refis and divorce cases by the no one knowing who the appraiser actually is, if you want someone to give a realistic value on a property without anyone meddling with the appraised value. So this is how appraisals are done. Let's get back into the main conversation on when to actually waive the appraisal. Here's the thing, some positives, right? So knowledge is key. You can use this to your advantage, right? So your buyer's agent and you should check with your loan officer when you get pre-qualified and pre-approved and just ask them, hey, if I'm buying a house under $1 million, before I write that contract, can you check to see if I get an appraisal waiver or not? By doing so, this is going to give you the knowledge and the power when you go to negotiate whether or not you, one, should or could waive your appraisal contingencies, and whether or not your buyer's agent can use that to your advantage. Going into the contract and saying, hey, Mr. Listing Agent, here we are, we've kept our financing contingencies, but we're waiving the appraisal contingencies because we know it's already good, because my client's already approved, and we've checked the address and ran it through, and we've gotten a waiver as of right now. Now, keep in mind, waivers can go into underwriting, and if anything changes, it could change to losing that waiver status, so always keep in mind that that could happen. And also on the ACE with the PDR or PDC, that property report would have something on it that would trigger the lender wanting or needing a full appraisal. It normally goes to a hybrid appraisal and then a full appraisal as secondary options, okay? But your agent's going into that conversation with power and saying, we already know that we don't need that appraisal. So if your conventional loan's going against a VA loan or an FHA loan that has to have an appraisal, you knowing that you can get a waiver might just seal the deal, okay? I've actually had some listing agents that knew that their homes were slightly overpriced call me as a lender and say, hey, have you checked to see, I got this contract for your client, is a waiver actually available or not, right? That listing agent's checking on that loan officer to see if he's done his job and whether or not what the options may or may not be. The other power of waiving an appraisal is, especially if you've exceeded the list price and still get a waiver, you know you don't have to worry about the appraisal coming in low, and that listing agent is going to be extremely happy, okay? So biggest recommendation when it comes to all of this, understanding what your appraisal options are. If you have a option of having an appraisal and financing, should you then accept an appraisal waiver? The answer is it depends. If you do the appraisal and you have the option of negotiating a lower price, then you should go ahead and do the appraisal. If it comes in at value, you could have taken the waiver, you could have saved the $500 or $600. So if you have the option to negotiate a lower price, I say do the appraisal most of the time. If you're going to buy the house regardless, then save the money on the appraisal. If you're putting 40% down, 50% down, why have the appraisal? You're buying the house anyway. So these are some tips on when to use the appraisal waiver, how to use it to your advantage. My name is Kevin Retcher. I'm the owner of First Meridian Mortgage. I've been in business for 28 years, doing business in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. If you have any questions on appraisals, call me. Here's the thing. Call me anyway, even if you're in a different state. I have 32 other states covered with broker owners just like me that I've personally vetted and talked to. Happy to refer you to one of those guys. I get nothing out of it out of just making sure I take care of you. I'm happy to serve you. And to all the Marines out there, you know what I'm going to say? Semper Fi. I'll talk to you soon. Great news. Appraisal waivers up to 90%. It's going to save people a lot of money, a lot of headache. It's going to allow you to close loans faster, quicker, and without appraisal issues. I'll talk to you soon.